So what's this one? Is this the third one? Fourth one?
Third. I think it's third.
All right.
Feels like the fourth because the last one was so long.
That's true. That was really long. That took a long time to edit, but at least your camera cut out early, so I had less to edit, which was awesome. But yeah, there's just been a lot of stuff going on, and we haven't been able to match our times to do another one. But I'm glad we were able to work it out for this one. And we have once again topics. We have stuff to talk about. Whether it's interesting to other people, I don't know.
Might be. It might be.
All right. So, what do you want to start with?
Let's just chat. Like, what have you been up to? Have you been paddling?
I have not been paddling, hence this. I'm just getting ready. The longer the beard, the better I'm going to be when I get back in the boat.
Yes.
No, with between work and it looks like my family is going to be relocating in the next couple of months. There's been just a lot of family and life changes that are going on. So as soon as that's all settled, then go back in the water. And I've had some people tell me, the water's always going to be there. It's not that big a deal.
I don't believe them.
All right. Well,
don't fall into that trap. That can go forever.
No, you're right. No, but so the point is just once a couple of things settle down, then I'm really excited to get back in it. Hopefully we will be actually closer to the water. That's part of what we're hoping to do. So, but I hear you've been doing a lot of the opposite. You've been getting wet a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Like one of the things that I wanted to just mention today, we talked about, I think we've touched on pool sessions in both of the last talks.
Winter time.
A little bit. Yeah. So I would just like the pool sessions have paid off, like given me a little bit of extra confidence, I would say. Not being afraid to go over at all, like no hesitation, and being able to put myself into tougher spots, which is makes it more fun.
That's really good. Let me ask you this. Have you done the exercise of linking rolls where you go over and you roll on one side and then as soon as you come up, you just go right back down and roll on the other side?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good exercise to pass on for forgetting what side you're on and just keeping it going.
Yeah. I made a video of that once. I should try to find it.
That'd be awesome. We can put it in here. I have a video of that too. Okay, we'll figure that out later and share it here if we can. So what you were mentioning before, you wanted to talk about a couple of things that you are thinking of doing to get back into the season.
Yeah, so I've started the days are getting long enough that it makes it so that the window for surge narrows is a bit bigger. As far as light, being able to surf in the light. Some people like night surfing there, but in the cold, not always the greatest. But now the days are getting longer and that window of opportunity is getting bigger. So we've been getting into the current. I kind of pushed for Shane's channel day. And I have a little bit of video of us doing rescues and stuff in that. And
okay, let's try to put it here.
Yeah. And a long re-enter and roll that I had to fight to get done. I'll check it out. I haven't checked that video yet, but I'm pretty sure I have it. That would be cool.
Those are so rewarding.
Yeah. I couldn't get the boat to sink into the water. And this bouncing all over, and every time it bounced, the water would pour out of it. And eventually I got in there and got it done. Everything was going wrong. Blade angle, everything. But I got it. A little bit of work. Yeah. It was with Nick Barker and Lee Phillips, which was kind of a fun day, bouncing around, playing in Baines Channel. So it's a wind over tide spot where you can kind of get a little bit of surf off of the wind coming in from the southeast. And it makes for a bouncy time, but it's a lot of texture in the water. Lots of fun. Tricky, a little bit tricky too. But I think if with your pool stuff, I'm guessing that also helps too. Yeah. So we were practicing our best rescues in that. So I guess we're calling them re-entries now. I should call it a re-entry. Um, so we did a bunch of rolls in the mess. So we're just starting to play around with all of this stuff because the season is coming quickly, and we'll have lots of courses to teach. So we want to be sharp with our own skills. Say, what about you? What do you? What do you?
I'm starting from scratch again. I've been so out of it for so long that the first thing I need to work on very badly is flexibility. And then I need to work on muscles again, because that's just gone. And it's the kind of thing that you don't use them and they just disappear very quickly. Especially the ones that we use for paddling that we don't feel like we use them anywhere else. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're out all day and you get home and you're like, that's a muscle? Where'd that come from? So I'm gonna start working on yoga to get back into it, and then I'm gonna be adding just regular workouts. My wife and I used to do P90X a long time ago, and all the core related stuff is always helpful for this kind of stuff.
The personal trainer I go to, he just put me on to rowing because it circulates blood throughout your whole body, oxygenated blood throughout your whole body. Super good for cardio. So that's what I'm doing for cardio. And then he's got me on kind of yoga, like I would almost call it like power yoga. Like you're doing a whole bunch of core stuff, but it's yoga as well, like a bunch of stretching. Kind of a mat routine, and I love it. Like it's really, I told him I was having some tightness in my hips, mentioning things that you would normally not be using. And he gave me this routine where I do a lot of like stretching around those hips and a lot of things that require core strength, but at the same time, you're stretching all those muscles around your butt and your hips. It's good.
I remember there was one exercise that sounded really stupid the first time I did it, and then I realized how much it helped, especially for paddling. And it was for one of the core routines where you're kind of standing with your legs somewhat apart, and then you can take a small weight or something, and you go from the floor across your body up and across to the other side, as if you're putting you're reaching for a can of paint in your garage, and then you're bringing it down to the floor, and then you just go back up and down, just kind of like across, and then you switch and you do it again in the opposite direction. And that kind of just silly motions that are the things that a lot of times you're doing something like in the kitchen and you're reaching to change a light bulb, and that's when you throw something out because you're not used to some of those motions. I think it's a similar thing. Some of those workouts and core related stuff are always good for water related stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that your back or was that your chair?
My chair. It's a rocking chair. Look at it.
It's
an old rocking chair.
No can you see? I can.
You'll see it when you come over, but
nice. Oh, that's awesome.
It's Ashley's chair.
Well, it's just my back actually sounds like this now from not using it. Okay, so next thing we were thinking about was bringing some of the books that we had either on the shelf or we're looking at or whatever. So I have a couple that we can go through, and if you want to go through what you have there, that'd be awesome. Do you want to start?
I have one on my phone. This is the one I'm currently reading, and I'll start with it.
All right, go.
It is On Island Time. Kayaking the Caribbean by Scott B. Williams. I've enjoyed it so much. Like, I don't know, you can see it. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
I'm listening to it on Audible. He has lots of fun little adventures. Lots of funny things happen. He has to take a break and he goes home and sells watermelons for fun the rest of his trip. But a little plug for that one. The thing that I like about it is like the struggles that he talks about, like with his equipment and like all the things he didn't anticipate, like all those things when you go on an adventure that you don't anticipate that happen. kind of exciting and fun. Makes me look forward to the summer.
Can I jump on not anticipating something to one of the ones I have, which is Deep Trouble, and then there's also more Deep Trouble.
Oh, buddy. Look what I
Nice. There you go. So I have that one too, and I just couldn't find it. We've been moving stuff around the house everywhere, and I couldn't. That's really fun. So for those of you that have never read any of these are fantastic, especially when you're starting. But the only thing is, when you read one, you've read them all. In terms of, they always start the same way. It was a beautiful day. This was a great trip. We never expected. Bah, bah, bah.
They weren't wearing their life jacket.
So it's a collection. Both books are, and there's several of them. It's a collection of all these real stories, real things that happened, and they give you pretty much all of the information of what happened in the story, but then they also give you takeaways and key lessons from them.
Yeah, he breaks out some things in it too. He'll like add like this one, for example, the self rescues, like how to do it on the side of the page, like something related to the story, which I thought was kind of neat. Like, just adds a little value to not just hearing the story, but like how you can improve or fix that situation.
100%. The other thing too that I really like is they'll give you also charts, and they'll map out like what the path was, where something happened, where they thought they were, where they ended up being, and whatever. And you can actually see it on the chart. And oh, look, there's Baja.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's always
I think it has the same thing in this one. This one has the same thing.
Did they just reuse the same ones? No, just kidding.
Yeah, like this sort of thing.
Exactly. So it's always really. I think these are fantastic. They're fantastic.
They're all happen in places that we all paddle all the time. That's the crazy part. Like, it's the places that we all paddle all the time. Like, some of the stories in this one anyway happen in my backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I think that there's some from that other coast too. There's
what's also interesting is some of them happen to locals and some of them don't. And seeing that a similar situation could happen to everyone is also a really good takeaway. But in a lot of them, I think what's really interesting is I like thinking of it as I call them screw it moments or whatever, where like it cascades into other things, and it's like trying to limit those. Like, I forgot my PFD, or I forgot my radio's not charged, or it's all right if your camera's not charged, but some of the other things that you might need, maybe. Yeah, or one thing that I'm known for that I've been bad with is making sure my skeg is always functioning. I've had that trouble in the past.
So have I. I had a boat that it would get stuck all the time, and I wasn't diligent. I put a string on, but then eventually the string frayed, and I never put another one on. Yeah.
Well, the biggest problem I have is a lot of times, because we do beach. We always launch from beaches. Stuff will get up in the skeg, and I almost never use it. And because I never use it, stuff gets stuck, and I don't have that constant up and down. And then when I actually want to go use it, it's already too late and it's stuck.
Actually, one thing, the boats that I've been paddling, those current design boats that I've been paddling, they're not too bad for that. They don't get stuck very easily compared to other boats that I've paddled. Yeah, it's a nice.
Well, but I will say this though, for mine, I hadn't used a skeg, I'd say, in over a year before I needed it on a really windy day that we were doing wind exercises. So I'd say most boats, if I was taking advantage of it and I didn't use it for a year, I would let most boats have it's my fault. It's not the boat's fault if I haven't pulled it
fair
down
enough.
or checked it in a year.
Fair
So,
enough.
all right. So, Deep Trouble, awesome book. This one, have you read this one before? It's Sea Kayak by Gordon Brown.
No, I have not.
It
I'd
is
like to.
awesome. He has so much good information in here, but like not only like for example here, judging time and distance, he'll have a chart. I'll show it to you in a second. He'll have a chart where uh, I'm just putting it in front of the camera. He'll have a chart where it shows you roughly distance and what you'll be able to see,
Oh yeah.
which is, nuggets like that are just super, super useful. This one is filled with stuff, I'd say, for anybody from a novice to, an experienced person. There's always stuff you can pick up. He talks a lot about edging. Gee, I wonder why. No, but so here's one thing he said. Our kayaks, we know from the chapter on boat dynamics, turn more easily if put onto an edge. Of course. What we have to try to do is use this most effectively with minimum energy expenditure and maximum effect. Which I think I like the idea of saving your energy for things that matter and not wasting it in areas that don't. Remember when we were talking about edging, whether using your knees or your butt or whatever? I like that idea of once you incorporate it in a very useful way, you'll be more efficient, and then it's not as hard on you to do these things like rolling or getting back in your boat or doing a re-enter and roll. I'll bet you this one's a lot easier than a couple of weeks or months ago.
Yeah.
But and then he'll have like lots of other stuff too, weather, all sorts of really interesting information. But then again, Gordon Brown has so many videos online as well, which are fantastic.
Yeah. All of his info is great.
Always. And his contact toe is what I have used since the first time I started kayaking.
That's awesome.
It's like a 2-3 minute video online that he has, and that's been like my go-to when it comes to contact towing all the time. All right, what else do you have?
I've got the Wild Coast 3.
What's that one about?
It is a book for kayaking, hiking, and recreation guide for BC's South Coast and East Vancouver Island. The thing I like about this one, it actually saved me on my family trip in the summer.
Really?
Yeah, because I was in the Broughtons and I was reading it as I went along, and it tipped me off for a spot where there was a channel with a set of islands in the middle in Baronet Passage, up in just off Johnstone Strait, and the current runs kind of away from this island as it drains, so it's going both directions. And I didn't I didn't know that. It would have been like local knowledge, but because of this book, I was reading it the night before, and I was like, "Hey, we have to approach this way because this is happening." And it probably saved me a couple hours of paddling that day.
That is awesome. I just did a video where some of it I talked for, most of the thing is talking about local knowledge. It's like setting up trips somewhere that you haven't been before, and talking to people that know the area is absolute key, or have written about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so here's the type of stuff that's in there. I actually used the Wild Coast 2 for my trip. This is more for the south part of the island. But this is like Baines Channel that I was talking about earlier, right in this picture in the map. It's got kind of a map. In the map, he kind of shows all the features of the area, and then he talks about each one in a paragraph, kind of like what's going on with it. If it's a campsite, he'll kind of describe it. He shows a whole bunch of campsites. So if you're looking for a little bit of local knowledge, it won't be complete, I'm sure, but some local knowledge for places, this guy's got it good. It's by John Camanthus.
Well, but that goes with pretty much most places, or I mean, lots of places will have books on the area, so it's always worth finding. Like I remember when we started paddling the Delaware River near us, there was actually it's upstairs. I don't know why I didn't bring it down, but it had all the possible. It had listed every single bit of white water. It classified it. It showed you the entire river from a spot to a spot and every single campsite along with it. And it's like that. There's tons of books out there for most places, and you can find so much info. And that's
Yeah, he even takes it a little further in this one. Like, he has like culturally significant places, old ruins, like little trails that you can pick up on, like for hiking and stuff like that. It's really detailed. It actually like added a lot of value for our trip in the summer.
it makes me think like I've started and stopped. I have a book I've been trying to write for a while, and anytime I read a real book on kayaking, it makes me not want to write what I'm doing because mine is so empty of information compared to how like much info these books have. All right, this one I have here. It was awesome when I was just getting started. It's called Simple Kayak Navigation by Ray Killen, and this one has pretty much all of the basics. How to read a chart.
Look at this. Look at this.
There you go. Exactly.
But this is my Lee. Lee Moyer.
Nice. So it's like this one just has pretty much all of the basic stuff, and then you can look deeper into how to read charts, how to plan, how to use a compass, understanding, let's see, like ferrying, crossing a tide race, how to set up a trip, like all of the, see, like it'll have charts like, whoop, there you go, like this. I'm sure your book has exactly the same thing.
Similar, like he kind of gives you examples of like, you know how when you set up your trip, you plan all your.
Well, actually, let's talk about what you have there right now. What if once we turn this into the podcast, what Lee was just showing is a chart that had a couple of islands, and then what was marked was the bearing from every island to every other island and the distance between every island marked down ahead of time. So no matter where you are in your trip, you, by looking at your chart, know in what direction, what you might be looking at because one of the things that happens a lot when you're on the water is you might be sitting somewhere and you think you're looking at something, but you might be looking at something very different.
I've done that.
I've done that so many. I've done that at like my backyard, where sometimes I'll go on the Long Island Sound, I'll come back in, and because of either the way the light's shining or the tide or whatever, some of the entrances and areas just look different. And then, so if you're somewhere that you don't know, but you already have your bearings ahead of time, that would make it a lot easier to know where you are.
This book, he talks about a bunch of different equipment that you can have. There's a lot of talk about like planning, and he kind of takes you through a process of how to plan. And it, like, for an area like ours, it's a great little introduction. And he even talks about how to do it at night, which is always fun.
Oh, and that brings up, this one also has here ways of navigating in the fog if you feel you might be lost. Different patterns you might do. Let's say because you think you've went somewhere and you missed it. So different patterns, and I think that like in the night, it could be a very similar thing too. But where you are, you actually need it. You have so many islands where you are. So
and there's like so many factors to figure out how to incorporate into things. Like if you get into fog and stuff, you have to start thinking about drifting and like aiming off and making sure you have backstops. But let's do a whole navigation. I'd love to do that. That would be
That's
fun.
awesome. For me, where we are right now in the main area we go to, the most current we'll have you can paddle against at any point, and you usually can see most of the big buildings from the water.
Yeah.
So it's not very complicated. What else you have in your stack there?
Whelks To Whales. So this is like an identification book
Awesome.
for features around here. I really like it because it doesn't just go through the whales and stuff like that, but even like the crabs and stuff that you see, it'll go through all the crustaceans. So when we're doing trips and guiding and even courses, I'll often pull these out and let people look at them because just like the sea life on the beaches and stuff is just outstanding, and it's fun to be able to identify things. Let me cut a couple other features. It tells you like what areas the animals are usually found in. Kind of gives you identification tips. Oh, this is cool. This petroglyph is like right near my house.
Is it really?
I just flipped to that page. Can you see the picture of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like maybe a 20-minute drive from my house.
All right. So then I have, this is my buddy Alan. He's a fantastic paddler, and he recommended this one. It's called Rough Water Handling by Doug Cooper, and this one is, I'd say, I think it'd be fine for someone that's just starting out, but I think it'll take a little bit of time to get into where some of these techniques can be put. For example, there's several sections on linking strokes, for example. So if you're just getting started, it might sound strange to think of doing one stroke into this one, into this one, into that one, so that you can do a certain maneuver with the kayak. But as you start learning them and you start incorporating them, seeing how you can flow from one to the next will make a lot of sense. In, like, for example, what I mentioned before that Gordon Brown said in his book of trying to minimize energy expenditure, like linking strokes. If you see canoeists and the way they paddle, it's just beautiful how they just blend all their strokes. And even that game that we were talking about in the first episode of only paddling on one side of the
Blade
kayak.
Runner.
Yeah, all of that. And so this book definitely has a lot on that. I mean, it has a lot on reading water. It has a bunch on rolling. It has, getting in and out of eddies, like all the typical stuff you would expect when it comes to rock gardening.
Can you bring that when you come?
This book is awesome.
Look.
Yeah, this book is really great. I believe it also had a bunch of stuff on turning, using the wind to help you turn, which once I did that for the first time, like blew my mind. To use the wind to turn for you, but yeah, this is a good one.
That's awesome. I was with Jeff Lexier.
Yeah.
At Golden Gate.
Yeah,
and he was teaching that. He was teaching.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, we had a very windy day at Golden Gate on the Sunday. It was.
How were conditions? Were they big?
On Sunday it got shut down by the Coast Guard.
All right.
But the rest of the weekend was fabulous. It was awesome, and we just made the best of it and actually taught a bunch of concepts on land and took people through a bunch of scenarios on land of different windy kayak things. It was really good. It was fun. Jeff's awesome.
Liquid Fusion.
Yeah. That's Jeff's company. I just wanted to make sure I said it right.
Oh, yeah. I spent a week out with Jeff and Kate when I was in Mendocino. And absolutely awesome. And a similar thing happened when I was at Lumpy a couple of years ago. the day, one of the days we were going to go surfing, the conditions just got too big, and I didn't get in the water. It got shut down as I was about to launch, and it was a similar thing. It got, but the thing is, we made the most of it. We had just so much stuff on land, and it was a blast anyway. But and what you were just saying about turning in wind, that was when my skeg, that it was stuck, because we were doing these exercises and I wanted to try them, and you need a skeg to do them.
Oh
And
man,
I couldn't get it. Well, we got it down eventually.
so I was teaching a course, and my skeg wouldn't go down, and I really needed it. And I couldn't even tell anyone because I was just like, I need to just keep paddling, and I need my skeg right now. And I was like, oh no, there's a rock stuck in it. It's frustrating when it's. Mike Kowalski was awesome too. He took us out for a coach's paddle on the first day, which was really cool. And that's when I got to go and surf right in front of Golden Gate. I don't know if you saw that video of that time race. Yeah. That was pretty epic. I was excited about it.
Did you do anything with Bill Vonnegut?
Yep, that day when Mike took us out, Bill was with us. Yeah, that was all I got to do with him, but he is a beauty.
Oh, Bill is, he is so much fun to paddle with.
I got to spend some time with him at the hostel and chat and stuff like that. It was
good. So when we turn this into the podcast, we're not going to have the charts that we were just showing to the cameras, but we'll have the list of books and the description if people want to look into the books that we have. And we'll also have a list of all the books and the authors in the description below the video as well.
Okay. That's awesome.
Okay. So we'll do it again really soon.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. See you next time.
Bye-bye.